Luca stood before the ruins of the old railway station, his sketchbook tucked under his arm. The sun was just beginning to climb over Skopje, casting long shadows across the cracked pavement. High above the entrance, the hands of the massive station clock were frozen, a silent witness to a moment that changed everything. For 60 years, time had refused to move past 5:17. "It's a scar that the city wears with pride," a voice said. Luca turned to see Becerra, a local history student, with eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 stories. She gestured to the clock. On July 26, 1963, the earth shook and the heart of Skopje broke. But this museum isn't just about the rubble, it's about what we decided to keep. Inside the Skopje City Museum, the air felt thick with memory. Becerra led Luca through the exhibits, showing him the remnants of daily life rescued from the dust. Luca realized that the city was a living collage, built layer by layer on the foundations of resilience. He began to draw, his pencil tracing the jagged lines of the broken stone. They crossed the Vardar River, the stone bridge humming with the footsteps of travelers. Their next stop was a grand building that housed the Museum of the Macedonian Struggle. "This is where the ghosts speak," Becerra whispered as they entered the dimly lit halls. The atmosphere shifted from the tragedy of the earth to the fire of the human spirit. Luca stopped in his tracks. Ahead of him, a group of men in traditional wool coats and holding weathered rifles stood in a semicircle. It took him a moment to realize they weren't breathing. The wax figures were so lifelike that he expected them to blink. They were the revolutionaries, the dreamers, who had fought for a sovereign land during the long centuries of shadow. "Every figure here represents a sacrifice," Becerra explained, her shadow dancing against a large mural of a battle scene. Independence wasn't a gift. It was a masterpiece painted in blood and ink. Luca sketched the determined jawline of a wax insurgent, feeling the weight of the history that allowed him to stand there, free to create his own art. They left the shadows of the past and climbed the steep hill toward the Kale fortress. Perched on the summit like a glass and concrete crown was the Museum of Contemporary Art, known as the MSU. "After the earthquake," Becerra said, catching her breath, "the world didn't just send bread and blankets, they sent beauty." Luca wandered through the bright, airy galleries of the MSU. He was stunned to see names like Picasso, Calder, and Hockney on the labels. Artists from every corner of the globe had donated their works to help a broken city find its soul again. It was a museum built on the ultimate act of international solidarity. "The world saw our ruins and decided to fill them with color," Becerra said, leaning against a white pillar. "The MSU is proof that art is the strongest bridge we have." Luca looked at his sketchbook. His drawings of the frozen clock and the wax heroes suddenly felt connected to these modern splashes of paint. They were all part of the same survival. As the sun set, turning the Vardar into a ribbon of liquid gold, Luca sat on the edge of the hill and finished his drawing. He hadn't just sketched buildings. He had captured a city that refused to stay down. Beside him, Becerra smiled, knowing that another heart had been woven into the fabric of Skopje.